Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive into how to become a people magnet. That is the title of a book by Marc Reklau, and it's packed with so many great strategies. We're going to break them down and really get into like the nitty-gritty of what it takes to truly connect with people.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this one. It's full of those little like aha moments. You read something and you're like, that makes so much sense. I can use this right away.
So Reklau, he kind of starts out with this big idea. It's about how success and happiness are really tied into how well we connect with other people.
And it's not just like a fluffy idea, it's backed by research.
Right.
Strong social connections, they're actually the #1 predictor of both success and happiness.
Really?
Yeah, and there are even studies that linked strong social networks to a longer lifespan.
That's incredible. I never knew that.
It's pretty wild.
So then Reklau, he gets really honest. He says that people are mainly interested in themselves.
That's true.
It might sound a little cynical at first,
Yeah.
but when you think about it,
It's true, though. I mean, we all have that tendency to focus on our own needs and wants. It's just human nature.
so how do we use that knowledge then?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Instead of constantly talking about ourselves, we can learn to engage with people in a way that really resonates with them.
So how do we do that?
Reklow's advice is to focus on the other person, make them the most important subject in any conversation.
I like that.
It's about shifting from I, my, and mine to you and your.
Oh, that's really good advice. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
It's a subtle shift, but it can make a world of difference.
Think about the people you really enjoy talking to, the ones who make you feel heard and understood.
Right. They probably do this naturally without even realizing it.
They're so focused on you that you walk away feeling fantastic.
Exactly. And that's the kind of impact we can have when we master this approach.
Reklau doesn't just stop there. He goes on to give us 62 strategies to become a people magnet.
We're not going to be able to cover all of them in this deep dive.
But we're going to hit the most impactful ones.
Absolutely. The ones that you can start using today to make a real difference in your relationships.
Let's jump in.
Sounds good.
Okay, so one of the first things he talks about is making people feel important.
That's so fundamental, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like acknowledging their presence, expressing appreciation, using their names, actually listening to what they have to say.
It's like showing them that they matter.
Yeah, and these are simple things, but they can have such a profound impact on how people feel.
He also talks about the importance of being agreeable.
Not being a pushover, of course, but finding common ground, seeking harmony rather than conflict.
He actually asked this question, do I want to be right or do I want to be in peace?
That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
Sometimes letting go of that need to win an argument can be more valuable than anything else.
Because often those arguments don't lead to any kind of resolution anyway.
They just create more tension and distance.
Exactly. And then there's something as simple as smiling.
Oh, yeah.
Like a genuine smile.
The power of a smile is incredible. It's an instant mood booster.
It's like this universal language of kindness and connection.
And it creates a positive first impression right off the bat.
Totally. But then he also stresses the importance of being authentic.
Oh, for sure. People can spot a fake a mile away.
They can.
It's about being genuine and letting go of that need to impress.
Being comfortable in your own skin, people are drawn to that.
Absolutely. Vulnerability is magnetic.
Now, active listening, that's another big one.
Ooh, yeah, that's huge.
It's not just hearing the words, but actually engaging with the speaker.
Right. Asking clarifying questions, resisting that urge to interrupt.
Because sometimes you just want to jump in with your own story.
No, I do it all the time. It's a bad habit.
I think we all do. But when you really listen to someone, it makes them feel truly heard and understood.
And isn't that what we all crave?
Absolutely. And of course, expressing gratitude is so important.
Gratitude is a superpower. It can transform relationships.
That simple thank you can strengthen bonds like nothing else.
It's about acknowledging the good in our lives and the people who contribute to it.
Now, this one might be a little harder for some people, admitting our mistakes.
It can be tough, but it's essential for building trust and showing humility.
It's about owning up to our shortcomings and being willing to learn from them.
Nobody's perfect, and trying to pretend we are just creates distance.
And then there's forgiveness, which can be really hard.
Oh, it can be incredibly difficult, especially when we've been hurt.
But holding on to grudges just poisons us from the inside out.
Reklau emphasizes letting go for our own sake as much as for the sake of the relationship,
It's about freeing ourselves from that burden of resentment.
and creating space for healing and connection.
Now, he also talks about the power of remembering names.
It might seem like a small detail, but it makes a big difference.
It shows that you're paying attention, that you value the person.
It's like saying, you're important to me. I remember you.
And then he goes on to talk about avoiding arguments.
Yeah, those heated debates rarely lead to anything positive.
Instead of trying to prove someone wrong, try to understand their perspective.
Seeking understanding, not victory. That's a great way to put it.
Because trying to change someone's mind often backfires.
It just creates more resistance and defensiveness.
And when it comes to acknowledging others, Reklau says, focus on their strengths, not their weaknesses.
It's like choosing to see the best in people and then reflecting that back to them.
It shifts the whole dynamic of the interaction.
Instead of pointing out flaws, we're highlighting what makes them special.
And that can be incredibly empowering.
But what about when criticism is necessary, like when someone's behavior needs to change?
Well, Reklau isn't a big fan of criticism. He believes it's rarely constructive.
It often creates defensiveness and resentment.
But if you have to give feedback, he recommends a technique called the feedback sandwich.
I love that analogy.
You start with a positive observation, then address the area that needs improvement, and then finish with another positive statement.
It's like cushioning the critique with encouragement.
Exactly. So the person doesn't feel attacked or demoralized.
They see it within a context of support.
He also talks about letting others save face, especially when they've made a mistake.
Protecting their dignity.
Instead of publicly shaming someone, you address the issue privately and help them maintain their self-respect.
It's about understanding, not punishment.
Reklau also emphasizes the importance of being nice.
In a world that often rewards aggression, kindness can be a revolutionary act.
It's about showing compassion, empathy, generosity, even when it's not easy.
It's about choosing to believe in the good in people and acting accordingly.
He also talks about the power of an optimistic outlook.
That's a game changer.
It's about choosing to see the possibilities, the solutions, the silver linings.
Focusing on what can go right instead of dwelling on what might go wrong.
It's a choice we make every day.
And it has a ripple effect on everything we do and everyone we interact with.
Now, this next one's really interesting. He encourages us to help others like themselves better.
That's an interesting concept.
When we boost someone's self-worth, it actually improves our interactions with them.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. And he even gives practical advice on how to empower others, like breaking down tasks into smaller steps and offering encouragement along the way,
Making the daunting feel manageable.
and celebrating their progress every step of the way.
It's about being a cheerleader, a mentor, an ally.
Now let's talk about positive self-talk.
Our thoughts create our reality.
It's amazing how much our inner dialogue influences our experiences.
If we're constantly criticizing ourselves, it's going to affect how we interact with the world.
But if we cultivate positive self-talk, we become more resilient, more confident, more magnetic.
It's like having our own personal hype person in our heads.
Reklau also reminds us about the simple power of being friendly.
Sometimes it's the most basic things that make the biggest difference.
The genuine smile, a warm greeting, a sincere expression of interest.
It's about creating a welcoming atmosphere, making people feel comfortable and connected.
And speaking of connection, he even suggests writing thank you notes.
In our digital age, a handwritten note really stands out.
It shows you've taken the time and effort to express gratitude.
It's a tangible expression of appreciation, and it can have a surprisingly powerful impact.
Now, this one's a little different. He cautions us about people with false self-esteem.
The ones who project an image of confidence but are actually deeply insecure.
They can be incredibly draining to be around.
It's important to be able to recognize these individuals and set healthy boundaries.
Because their need for validation and tendency to put others down can create a really toxic environment.
To navigate those complex human interactions, Reklau encourages us to put ourselves in other people's shoes,
It's about empathy, seeing the world from another person's perspective,
recognizing that everyone's experiences and beliefs shape how they behave.
and that those behaviors aren't always a reflection of us.
He also cautions us against making assumptions.
We often think we know what others are thinking or feeling, but those interpretations aren't always accurate.
It's crucial to seek clarification instead of jumping to conclusions.
Because assumptions can lead to misunderstandings and unnecessary conflict.
Now, this is a powerful piece of advice for dealing with challenging interactions. Don't take anything personally.
That can be really hard.
It does take practice, but it's so liberating when you master it.
Reklau reminds us that other people's behavior is often a reflection of their own internal struggles, not a judgment on us.
It's about recognizing that we can't control how others act, but we can control how we react.
And he talks about being mindful of our social circle.
Yeah, the company we keep has a huge impact on our well-being.
He advises us to stop spending time with the wrong people and instead surround ourselves with supportive, positive individuals.
People who inspire us, uplift us, and challenge us to grow,
It's about recognizing that our relationships have a profound impact on our lives.
and choosing to invest in those that nurture our growth and happiness.
Reklau also suggests letting go of perfectionism.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is because we often strive for perfection in ourselves and in others,
But perfection is an illusion.
and it sets us up for disappointment.
Embracing our imperfections and allowing others to do the same creates a more compassionate and accepting environment.
And lastly, Reklau advises us to solve problems right away.
Don't avoid those difficult conversations or let issues fester.
Address them head on with open and honest communication.
And focus on finding solutions that benefit everyone involved.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
I think it's time to move on to some of Reklau's other strategies.
I agree. There's a lot more to explore in this journey of becoming a true people magnet.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's dive into some more of these strategies from Reklau.
What else does he have for us?
Well, this one I think is super practical. It's called Make It Look Easy. The idea is to break tasks down, those daunting tasks.
Oh, yeah.
Make them into smaller, bite-sized pieces so they don't seem so overwhelming.
Right. It's all about making it feel manageable.
Exactly. And the other part of it is to offer encouragement all along the way.
Okay, so like a combination of breaking it down and being a cheerleader.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it because when we feel supported and encouraged, we're more likely to succeed.
And that success builds confidence.
And momentum, it creates a positive cycle.
So not only are we helping others achieve their goals, but we're also strengthening the connection.
Because they see us as someone who believes in them, who's in their corner.
An ally.
Exactly. And that builds trust and rapport.
Okay, now this next one is all about mindset. Positive self-talk.
Oh, this is so crucial. The way we talk to ourselves has a huge impact on our experiences.
It's like our inner dialogue is constantly shaping our reality.
If we're always putting ourselves down or focusing on the negative, that's what we're going to attract.
Right. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But if we make a conscious effort to cultivate positive self-talk, we start to see things differently.
You become more resilient, more optimistic, more confident.
And that confidence radiates outward. It affects how we interact with others.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about showing up differently.
Exactly. And it all starts with that inner dialogue.
Okay, so how do we actually shift from negative self-talk to positive self-talk?
Well, the first step is awareness, just noticing those negative thoughts when they pop up.
So like catching ourselves in the act.
Right. And then instead of letting them spiral out of control, we can gently challenge them.
So like questioning those negative beliefs.
Exactly. Are they really true? Are they serving me? Are there other ways to look at this situation?
So basically reframing those negative thoughts into something more positive and empowering.
And over time, it becomes a habit. You start to automatically focus on the good and the possible.
Okay, now this next one might seem super obvious, but Reklau reminds us about the importance of being friendly.
You'd be surprised how often we forget about this.
Right, it's like we get so caught up in our own world that we forget to simply be nice to people.
A friendly smile, a warm greeting, a genuine expression of interest, these things go a long way.
It's about making people feel welcome and comfortable.
Creating that sense of connection.
And speaking of connection, what about writing thank you notes?
I love this one. It's so old-fashioned, but so powerful.
In a world of emails and texts, a handwritten note really stands out.
It shows that you've taken the time and effort to express gratitude.
And it creates a lasting impression.
Reklau recommends writing them for all sorts of occasions, acknowledging someone's help, thanking them for a gift, or just letting them know you're thinking of them.
It's about taking a moment to appreciate the good in our lives and the people who contribute to it.
And here's a bonus. Writing thank you notes has been shown to boost our own happiness and reduce stress.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about a different kind of people, those with false self-esteem.
These are the ones who project an image of confidence, but underneath, they're deeply insecure.
They can be really charming and charismatic at first.
But over time, their need for validation and their tendency to put others down can be really draining.
It's important to be able to recognize these individuals and set healthy boundaries.
Because their insecurity can be contagious, it can drag you down.
Reklau suggests looking for red flags like arrogance, a constant need to be the center of attention, and a lack of empathy.
So to navigate those complex human interactions, Reklau encourages us to put ourselves in other people's shoes.
Empathy is essential for building strong relationships.
It's about trying to see the world from their perspective, understanding their experiences and their motivations.
When we make that effort, we're less likely to judge or misinterpret their actions.
And it helps us respond with compassion rather than defensiveness.
He also cautions against making assumptions.
We often think we know what others are thinking or feeling, but those interpretations aren't always accurate.
It's so easy to jump to conclusions, but it's much better to ask clarifying questions and seek to understand their perspective.
Clear communication is key.
Absolutely. And this next one is probably the most challenging, but also the most liberating. Don't take anything personally.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is, but it's so empowering when you can actually do it.
So how do we stop taking things personally, especially when someone's words or actions feel like a direct attack?
Well, Reklau reminds us that other people's behavior is often a reflection of their own internal struggles, not a judgment on us.
So it's not about us at all.
Exactly. They're projecting their own insecurities or their own pain. It has nothing to do with our worth.
But that's hard to remember in the heat of the moment.
It takes practice, but the more we can detach from other people's reactions, the freer we become.
And he also talks about being mindful of our social circle.
The company we keep has a profound impact on our well-being.
He suggests that we stop spending time with the wrong people and instead surround ourselves with supportive, positive individuals.
People who lift us up, inspire us, and challenge us to grow.
It's about recognizing that our relationships have a ripple effect on every aspect of our lives.
And choosing to invest in those that nurture our growth and happiness.
Reklau also suggests letting go of perfectionism.
That's a big one.
We often put so much pressure on ourselves and others to be perfect.
But perfection is an unattainable goal.
It sets us up for disappointment, and it can damage our relationships.
Embracing our imperfections and allowing others to do the same creates a more compassionate and accepting environment.
And lastly, Reklau advises us to solve problems right away.
Don't avoid those difficult conversations or let issues fester.
Address them head-on with open and honest communication.
And work together to find solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Because unresolved issues just create resentment and distance.
And they can eventually erode the foundation of the relationship.
So we've explored a lot of really practical strategies for becoming a people magnet.
We have, but I think it's time we shifted gears and revisited Reklau's final message.
What does he leave us with as we wrap up this exploration of his book? Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into becoming a people magnet, what are the big takeaways here? What can our listeners really take with them?
There's so much in Reklau's book. It's really packed with insights, but I think at its core, it's about building authentic connections, not about tricks or manipulation.
It's about genuinely wanting to connect with people and make a positive impact on their lives.
Right. And understanding that our relationships are really the foundation for everything, for happiness, for success, for fulfillment.
He also stresses that this is a journey, not a destination.
It's about constantly learning, growing, evolving.
And he says even those little tiny changes, when you apply them consistently, they can lead to massive improvements.
It's about picking a few strategies that really resonate with you and making them a part of your daily life.
He also says it's not about trying to be perfect.
Right. Nobody's perfect, and we don't have to pretend to be.
It's about being authentic, being ourselves, and attracting people who appreciate us for who we are.
So what are some things our listeners can do to start putting these principles into practice?
Like some tangible action steps.
Well, one of the most powerful things you can do is practice active listening. Really focus on hearing and understanding what the other person is saying without interrupting or planning your response.
Oh, that's a good one.
And make a conscious effort to remember names. It shows respect and it helps build rapport.
That's a big one for me. I'm terrible with names.
Me too. It takes practice, but it's worth it.
And of course, express gratitude. Regularly acknowledge the people who make your life better.
A simple thank you can go a long way.
And another thing Reklau talks about is focusing on the positive.
Right. Choosing to highlight strength and celebrate successes, rather than dwelling on negativity or criticism.
And lastly, don't avoid those difficult conversations.
Address problems promptly and work together to find solutions.
So as our listeners start implementing these strategies, they're probably going to notice a shift in their interactions.
Conversations will flow more easily, connections will feel more genuine, and they'll probably experience a deeper sense of fulfillment.
It's about creating those win-win relationships where everyone feels valued and respected.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I challenge our listener to think about one strategy they can put into action immediately.
What really resonated with you during this episode? What's one step you can take today to become a more magnetic and influential individual?
Remember, even small steps can make a big difference over time.
Embrace the process. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the rewards that come from building stronger, more meaningful connections.
And if you have any questions or insights you'd like to share, please reach out to us via email. We'd love to hear from you.
This is Host Speaker signing off, reminding you to cherish those everyday moments that make life extraordinary.
And this is Expert Speaker encouraging you to always seek knowledge, understanding, and connection. Until next time.